Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a quick list. Oh, a list. A list of my favorite records of 2015 thus far. No promises on these records making it into my top 10 of the year, because what if 10 amazing records come out between now and the end of the year and just completely blow all these albums away? It could happen. It could totally happen. But yeah, let's just, talk about these records, man. 15 of my favorite albums of 2015 so far, starting with Bjork's latest full-length LP, Vulnicura. Art pop artist, singer, producer, fantastic singer, Bjork has come through with a heartbreaking and very personal record with Vulnicura, a bit of a breakup record of sorts with some very just heart-wrenching lyrics on some of these tracks. Not only just one of her sadder records, but one of her most conceptual too. Definitely give this thing a listen. And it has a very, kind of wispy, whimsical, very string-heavy sound that reminds me quite a bit of my favorite Bjork record, Vespertine. So it's kind of cool to sort of see Bjork go back to that sonic era of her career on this project. Next, the new Zeus record, Z. Zeus is an experimental rock band, sort of jazz-ish group, and this is a pretty perplexing, hypnotic, repetitive, and very textured album. One of their simplest albums too, with just some drums on here, a bit of guitar, some sax, some, sort of other sounds flying around this bass instrumentation, but these guys go into some just intense and hypnotic performances on this album. Next, one of the best singer-songwriter records I've heard this year, something with just a lot of chutzpah, a lot of humor, just a good sense of humor on this album, as well as some very well-written songs and some great vocals too, and some lavish instrumentation. Of course, I'm talking about the new Father John Misty record, I Love You, Honeybear. Easily some of my favorite songs of this year, landing on this album. Do not miss out on this one. And also on this list, we have the comeback record of one of the most fearsome bands in post-punk, the Pop Group, with Citizen Zombie. Very colorful, weird, odd, but catchy and poppy at points record. Let's go straight into a bit of pop-punk with the new Jeff Rosenstock album, We Cool, an album that is very reflective, contemplative, but still has, this kind of self-deprecating sense of humor to it that, really helps me get through the pain and suffering, the suburban suffering. It's a fun record, but has kind of a very dark sense of humor and a very strong sense of, depression flowing throughout some of these very just rowdy and catchy and fun songs. Next, the new Clarence Clarity album, Know Now. Fantastic R&B and pop record from this year. Easily my favorite pop record of the year so far. I would have to say definitely my favorite pop record and R&B record of the year. I mean, there's a lot of alternative R&B out there right now. A lot of it is very moody and atmospheric and very spacious, but Clarence Clarity took the opposite approach on this project and just overloaded his songs with sounds. These are incredibly dense songs, and not only are they dense, but they are fantastically written, a lot of them. And Clarence brings over an hour of material on this project, and this is his debut project. And some of the songs on here still remain some of my favorite tracks of the year. I keep going back to this record. Oh, cancer in the water. Oh, there's some sick freaking jams on this record. If there's one album in my list here that I hope gets more hype before the year is over, it's this one. And of course it's on here. Come on, man. New Kendrick Lamar record, To Pimp a Butterfly. Oh my God. It's still great. It's still great. Everything that I would need to say about this record is in my review. Watch my review. It's linked in the description box. God, it's a good album. Also, the new Death Grips LP, The Powers That Be, or rather the completion of this double album with the second half, Jenny Death, and I sort of counted the first half in sort of my summation of this record. And both great interesting sister albums, easily one of Death Grip's most abstract records and one of Death Grip's more catchy and visceral albums bunched together under one umbrella. And Death Grips just continues to push the boundaries of modern music between pop and rock and hip hop and just noise. I mean, God, they continue to just blow me away. If you're looking for something fierce, if you're looking for something that is going to just reach into that skull, rip it back, and just pull all these genres together in ways that you never assumed these genres could be pulled, with easily one of the most electrifying frontmen in modern music today, right there on the mic, we have the new Death Grips record. Listen to it. Blah. And this next album here is a jazz monster, one of the biggest and most ambitious jazz albums in modern music. I mean, I can't remember the last time there was a jazz record that I was this excited about. Also, a jazz album that, in terms of just instrumentation, length, and performance, was so immense. Of course, the new Kamasi Washington album, The Epic. Fantastic freaking album. Fantastic freaking album. Just, can't say a mean thing about this record. It's a little long, but it is like a triple album. It's like a 3-hour album, but, each record is kind of like a record in and of itself. So again, don't like I said in my review, don't feel obligated to listen to this whole thing. Like, oh, if I can't listen to all of it in one sitting, then I'm not really enjoying it. Enjoy each piece at your own pace. It's a fantastic project. I would hate for someone to see the length of this project and think, oh, I'm not listening to that. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do it. Another album that is pretty hulking but still very interesting is the new Prurient record, Frozen Niagara Falls. This is a noise record, an ambient record, a power electronics record, a death industrial record, some weird 80s synth, sci-fi, progressive synth soundtrack music record, like horror synth record. There is so much eeriness and horrifying stuff going on throughout this double album. And Prurient does a fantastic job here of making a record that is not just musical, but very emotional as well. I mean, just these very upfront, sad, raw, angry human emotions that, I mean, as the listener, you have to grapple with them. This is not a record that just kind of plays in the background. This record brings a strong, unignorable mood, which is something that you don't often get in abstract music. Music this abstract. Usually the intentions and the feelings are a little harder to kind of pull out of the music, but Prurient really just shoves them in your face. Next, the new Algiers album, self-titled record. This is their debut full-length album on Matador Records. This album is an amazing and interesting fusion of post-punk, goth rock, soul, blues, and gospel. Genres that you typically don't see mixing, and maybe for obvious reasons, because I imagine mixing them isn't really that easy, but yet Algiers makes it sound so easy, with some really fantastically written songs too. I wish the record was sequenced a little bit better, or just had a better opener, a better closer, but man, what is in the middle of these tracks over here, this album's core songs, are great, and I am surely going to be remembering this project come the end of the year. The next one on this list is my favorite metal record of the year so far. I don't see it being surpassed because it's pretty freaking horrifying and just so well performed, so well put together, so amazingly produced, so heavy, so, I guess what I want to say is the sounds are so just tangible. I just want to grab them, but yet I don't want to grab them because they're really scary. The new Leviathan record, Scar-Sighted, fantastic mix of black metal, death metal, just amazing production on this album. Great vocal performances on this record too. The vocal performances going from one track to another, there is quite a bit of variation on here, so you're not always getting the same kind of vocal sound on these tracks. And some tracks are a little bit more complex than others. Others are just really straightforward and hard-hitting. It's a nice, well put together black metal record. Very heavy, very powerful. Definitely give this thing a listen if you're into metal and for some reason it slipped by you. I also want to give a shout out for my next favorite metal record of the year to the new High on Fire album, Luminiferous. High on Fire pulled together some sludge metal, some thrash metal on this record with their typically heavy production, thunderous riffs. And this album is easily one of the catchiest they've come out with in a while too, because there's some great melodies, not only coming through on the guitars here, but a little bit in Matt Pike's vocals, especially on these weird, slower tracks that are kind of anthemic, something that you wouldn't typically expect High on Fire to do, but it goes over so well. So definitely want to give a shout out to High on Fire on here for coming out with a great record, another great record in their discography. Another favorite of the year is the new Koosha record, GUUD. This is an LP that was recently sort of, I don't want to say released, but I guess reissued through Old English Spelling Bee Records. You can listen to it over on their Bandcamp, and it's an interesting mix of like I guess the complexity of like classical music, but kind of the just fun, groovy, and very textured ear candy vibe that you get from like beat music such as Flying Lotus. But there's a bit of an IDM vibe going on here, kind of a glitch thing as well. There's just a weird genre defying characteristic to this album that I find very intriguing and really made it a fun listen. Had this one in my list, but I forgot to say it when I was shooting the video. Joey Badass, Before the Money. Oh my God. Pretty great, East Coast hip-hop album. Some good boom-bap revivalism with some catchy songs. Shout out to Joey Badass, man. Definitely want to give a shout out to the new Little Ugly Mane compilation, Third Side of Tape. Loved that recently, although, it just kind of seems like more of a compilation than it does a new record. And of course, shout out to everything else that I loved and gave a very positive review to this year. Not that any of that wasn't good, but this to me is definitely the releases that I am most excited about at the halfway point of this year. Definitely take the time to move back through my loved list for the year, which I will link you guys to down in the description as well, and check out any of those albums that I, sort of didn't mention in this video. And that's it. Transition. Have you given any of these albums a listen? If you haven't, please listen to them. They're my favorite albums of the year. Sweaty Sweat Tano here. You're the best.